We are live, and when I say we, I'm talking about you and I'm talking about me. I'm riding solo here tonight, going to be going through a Q&A, answering all your questions on WWE, AEW, Impact, and much, much more. So feel free to get in the comment section nice and early. Get your questions in. You'll receive a shout out as well. Going to be talking about LA Knight as well. WWE needs to push this guy, but of course, there are some rumors going around that perhaps that push is on the delay for now. Potentially the reasoning why for it as well. We'll go all into that. As well as that, Tribal Combat is now the main event for SummerSlam. Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso has been confirmed. As well as that, potentially could be a Hurt Business 2.0 variation. Bobby Lashley seems to be getting some numbers on the last couple of weeks of SmackDown. And if we turn things over to AEW, of course, we've had Blood and Guts this week. And also, Ricky Starks seems to be refreshed and renewed after winning the Owen Hart Trophy. Willow Nightingale as well becoming the new Ring of Honor Women's World Champion as well. So plenty to dive into, and of course the comments are coming in nice and early, so without further ado, let's get a few of those up. Of course, sadly, one or two have gone missing already, unfortunately, from when I've seen them before. But what I'll say is I'll go from now. Anyone that's missed them, get them in once again. But Richard in with us nice and early says Zoe Stark needs to be traded to SmackDown to finally go after Asuka at WWE Payback. Interesting comment there, Richard, to kick things off there for us. I'm quite enjoying Zoe Stark with Trish Stratus, if I'm being brutally honest. I think the partnership is working really, really well. Of course, we've got this Monday Night on Raw, Zoe Stark taking on Becky Lynch as well. To be fair, I expect Becky Lynch to win that match to perhaps build to Becky versus Trish once again at SummerSlam, and we'll see what happens after that. I think Zoe and Trish even could be a good run for the tag team titles at some point, who now are being held by Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville this past week on Raw, winning from Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan. We've got shouting as well an AEW comment then as well from Eric Douglas. Says, I kind of want to see Jamie Hayter get the belt back at All In. For another reason, whoever wins the title is going to get booed out to United Center because the fan base will go nuts for Sky Blue. Interesting comment, of course. Sky Blue from Chicago, so she could be potentially the contender when it comes to All Out. But this particular moment, she lost, of course, last night on Collision to Tara Valkyrie. Feels that she's taking a back seat for the second after the Owen Hart tournament, of course, being a semi-finalist there. So I have to wait and see how that will play out. But it's an interesting shout for me. Obviously, I'm going to be biased here. I'm from the UK, so I want to see Jamie Hayter return in time. I want to see her win the gold. But of course, Sky Blue, definitely a popular up-and-coming star as well. I would love to see her get her opportunity at some point. So let's talk about LA Knight. We've got a couple of comments in nice and early. Like I say, feel free to throw in your questions, throw in what you want, but LA Knight needs that push for me, needs the rub in WWE. Look, it's no surprise he's over like Rover. I've said it for quite a while now. His catchphrases are catching on. Let me talk to you. Yeah. I mean, the only thing missing from his Impact days is dummy at this point. I would like to see LA Knight be pushed to the moon, let's say, but certainly Money in the Bank wasn't where it happened. We were expecting originally a push after the Bray Wyatt feud, after the Royal Rumble, then after WrestleMania, after the draft. I've mentioned Money in the Bank already, and now it seems to be delayed after SummerSlam as well. Of course, better wrestling experience, getting the credit for this information coming out over the weekend. But of course, if you follow spoiler warning, yes, Tom, I'm giving you that shout out. Of course, Tom Colley did report that on his channel a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, LA Knight not in the plans, things going into SummerSlam, but there are plans in place coming on the other side of SummerSlam. And a lot of people have seen have been upset LA Knight did not win the Fatal 4-Way this week. Well, if he's not going to win the US title, for me, I'm happy to hold off. He wasn't in the pinfall, the deciding factor of the match. So for me, I'm happy that there's still an opportunity there. The guy is over. He's not necessarily, he didn't lose on SmackDown. So let's wait. Things are building. Yes, the merchandise is selling well as well. The new T-shirt is out. Yes, I'm tempted if anyone's wondering. I should say, yeah, I'm tempted if anyone's wondering. But at the same time, I think there's a potential there for him. And I think the United States Championship is the right way to go. I did see a comment that did go missing, unfortunately, at the top of the feed before I came on. So I can't give the person credit who said it was. But they hoped that LA Knight would win the Royal Rumble. I still think that could be, I think could be wishful thinking from us at this point. I've seen fans say the likes. So when you look at the likes of, I don't know, your Zack Ryders, your Rusevs, you know, people like that, we've got behind them. It's not quite materialized the way we wanted it to. But at the same time, I really hope that it will materialize for LA Knight. He's for me, different breed. He's so good on the mic. He's so good. He's got a way of just putting you in the palm of his hand. And I think, yes, he gets lots of comparisons with Steve Austin and with The Rock. But at the same time, every wrestler looks to go and, you know, take the best of someone that they've looked up to, and you can't go wrong with wanting to get, you know, bits of Austin and The Rock in your character, the way you deliver. It's not a carbon copy of what you're seeing. His own words, his delivery, and it's catching on. Dare I say, I don't even want to agree with Disco Inferno, but I think I will at this point. You know, a lot of people these days want to go with a similar style, wants this sort of, you know, yeah, ring technical skill, do the 5-star matches, get the Dave Meltzer rub, if you will. LA Knight is out there to get himself over. It's the promo, it's the words, it's the character, it's the connection with that. And once you see that connect with the fans in that way, what happens in the ring, everyone wants you to win, and he's got everything going on for it. So for me, look, he is the megastar. Whose game is it? It is LA Knight's game. We have to be a bit more patient at this point. I'm confident that we're going to see a push in some format. Now, what will that be? I still think the United States Championship is the best place to do it. I know we've got Rey Mysterio versus Santos Escobar on Friday Night SmackDown to determine who will take on Austin Theory next. I personally feel Austin Theory should retain at that moment. That's my personal feeling. And I think that LA Knight should be the one in line for Payback. Potentially could be the place for it. Maybe even Fastlane. But for me, I don't need to see it delayed much further. I prefer Payback. I want to see LA Knight get that push, because for me, I think he's got the potential to go all the way. And if you've seen the report from PW Torch today, they've actually come out and said that apparently Vince McMahon is actually becoming a fan of LA Knight as well. And remember, when he was brought up to the main roster last year, LA Knight, he was changed to a manager called Max Dupree for the Maximum Male Models because of his age, and was seen as it's kind of too late. Well, it looks like if Vince is getting on side as well, Triple H being on side also, the decisions are being made backstage. It feels like potentially, just maybe, LA Knight could be getting that push that we want after all. So that's my feelings on LA Knight. Please feel free to share your feelings as well with LA Knight in the comments. Do you want to see him get a push? Do you want to see him become US champion? Do you want to see him perhaps win the world title? Should he have won Money in the Bank? Let me know in the comments below right now. And I'm guessing, Eric, it was you that said that. Royal Rumble, what do people feel about it? Should LA Knight be main eventing a WrestleMania next year, or is that just a bit too soon? Here we go. Eric Douglas does say, I still think and have hope that Knight, he wins the Royal Rumble. I mean, for me, I'm not going to complain if it was to go down. But like I said, at the same time, I do feel that maybe that could be one step too far. I think there's the feeling for me. I think with the, with the United States Championship, you look what's happened with Gunther recently with the Intercontinental Championship. He's had a long reign. Looks like he's going to become the longest reigning IC champion. The mid-card titles mean so much more now again. It almost feels like they mean what they meant back in the 90s, which, almost feels impossible when you look over the last 20 years of storytelling. Gunther has made something of it. And if you go back to the 90s, the comparisons being made to Steve Austin, to The Rock, they're great IC title runs. It's not a bad thing to be a mid-card champion, hold that championship to get yourself to that next level. And I mean, Austin had won a Royal Rumble, had even won King of the Ring before coming IC champion. IC champion was what got him really to that next level. So for me, I think LA Knight going for the United States Championship would be the right move. Could he then go win the Royal Rumble afterwards? If everything goes well, I guess, why not? If the momentum continues between now and then, maybe we'll be having a conversation come December time. At this moment, I stick with the mid-card title, but hey, I'm not totally against what you're saying either. And look, want to see him face Roman. To be fair, I think if you can build LA Knight up as a credible person at this moment, Roman's champion, if you can build LA Knight to that position, would be amazing to see. I think with the verbal confrontations on SmackDown each and every week would be awesome to see. But at the same time, like I say, LA Knight, he's not, for us, we're like, yes, this guy, yeah, let's get him to that level. But we need to see him go on that journey to get to that level. We can't just sort of push him into a position against Roman right now, because otherwise he loses, and with that arguably could lose all the momentum as well. So that's why I want to see the build happen to this point. But hey, you mentioned the Royal Rumble, so you've kind of gone slower and steady as well. I mean, at least what we're talking about, 6 months away at this point. That is enough time to build a megastar if you wanted to. And like I say, if you won the US title, people would say he should have won it now at SummerSlam when I'm actually talking about this. But say he wins it at Payback, drops it around just before the Royal Rumble season, he's built himself up really, really well. Could be a contender. You wouldn't rule against it at this point. Richard in here saying, will Sol Rooker get revenge on Blair Davenport at Great American Bash to help Roxanne win? Of course, Roxanne Perez against Blair Davenport is a match that has been made for the Great American Bash. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm glad you've mentioned it, Richard, by the way. Great American Bash predictions will be dropping on this channel on Wednesday. Looking to do it in the form of a live stream if possible, and that is at the moment to be confirmed, but hopefully will be a live stream. Also, I will be actually appearing on our local establishment next Saturday as well with Astrid and Ed Fries. They've been with me on my channel before. You may have seen them as recent as the SummerSlam, greatest SummerSlam match of all time. Just this past week, I'll be appearing on their channel to give their predictions next Saturday. So keep an eye on the community post, and I'll let you know all the information there with times, etc., of where you need to be. But to answer your question, Sol Ruka, for me, I believe is out for quite a long time. So I think the Bash is too soon, but certainly Blair Davenport has got a lot of people that she could be feuding with once the Roxanne feud is finished with. I believe Wendy Chu was another one that Blair Davenport took out in the parking lot. So it all depends. Nikita Lyons as well. I think there's even a further name. So I think those ones are probably looking sooner than Sol Ruka at this point. From my understanding, I believe that Nikita Lyons injury as well is a long one also. So I suppose if it's anyone, I would go with Wendy Chu. But I would say early at this point, NXT will probably sway the decision one way or another. But I have a feeling Roxanne could get the W. She lost the first match, of course, on which was Independence Day. So yeah, the rematch, of course, will take place at the Bash. Noob & Co. TV in-house. Noob, hope you're doing well. Thank you for checking out the stream. And it's confirmed Asuka versus Charlotte versus Bianca Belair is happening at SummerSlam. The big triple threat, it's not really a secret, is it, at this point? But I tell you what, I know you're probably excited for that match. I'm really excited. I think the SummerSlam card is shaping up very nicely at this point, personally, for me. And for those let's go through it for those that are not aware of the card right now. We've got the tribal combat match, of course. Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso has been confirmed. Which, let's be fair, the rules of this seems quite interesting. It seems like it's just basically a no DQ match, but the idea that Roman sold this idea of, well, does the family know about this? Jay saying it's the family's idea. You know, the idea that he, all the Samoans have to sort of stay out of this. The bloodline stays away. It's just these two fighting, not just for the championship, where there's no rules in the match, but also for pretty much the head of the table. Who is the person that's really going to be the tribal chief? That seems to be on the line as well, which arguably to this storyline is just as important as the championship. So for me, it's an interesting nugget they've thrown into this. I'm actually really excited about the tribal combat match. I think to hear like the idea that candlesticks and steel chairs does feel slightly unoriginal in a way. I would have liked it. I don't know. Just been seen like it's just street fight kind of vibe rather than actually saying I'm going to take all the weapons in. But perhaps maybe people are more excited for what this is going to be. No, it's a no DQ style match. The weapons will come into play. It's a real big stipulation style match, and of course these two have faced off 2 times before. Of course, once was in Hell in a Cell. So yeah, they probably need to do a stipulation match for this, and for me, it fits really, really well. We've got Seth freaking Rollins defending the World Heavyweight Championship as well against Finn Balor, of course. Really looking forward to that. Of course, 7 years since they had their match at SummerSlam previously for the first undisputed, or not undisputed, it was the first Universal Champion, pardon me. So used to saying it with Roman Reigns these days. But with the Universal Championship back in 2016, where Balor got injured, the revenge, well, Balor said it's never going to be over until he can get the championship off Seth Rollins and pretty much shorten his reign and career and sort of laugh at him like Seth did. Really like where that's going. We mentioned the triple threat there, of course, there with Bianca Belair, Charlotte Flair, and Asuka. I think that's going to be outstanding. For me, the card is looking really, really good. Of course, with Cody Rhodes versus Brock Lesnar, no stipulation at this point, but we'll have to wait and see. Of course, I did say I expected a bull rope match in some format. At this point, I mean, again, I wouldn't have been surprised if it was like a no DQ style match because the steel chair seems to be involved. But for me, I'd like the bull rope just because it's a different form of stipulation. And I feel as well, I don't know, a bit old school. I like the touch of the turnbuckles. You have to hit all 4 turnbuckles. And just the fact that they're meant to be cowboys, the idea of cowboys or cowards, it just kind of fits their narrative, doesn't it? And of course, it is a nice little tribute to Dusty Rhodes as well. Richard actually making a comment as well. Let's give it a spoiler. I'm guessing it's a prediction. Cody gets a taste of his own medicine and chases him away on WWE Raw. And we'll see if that does happen. They've got a bit of build to do between now and, of course, when he gets to SummerSlam. So we'll see if they do interact anymore. But for me, Brock doesn't seem to be running away too much, although he did take the, the disaster kick that's done from the middle rope from Cody. So he did sort of back away from that week. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. Eric Douglas here says, do you feel we're getting Rock versus Grayson Waller? Great question, this one, because Grayson Waller kind of made the shout out to The Rock. For me, I'm going to be honest with you. I think if The Rock comes back, it's The Rock versus Roman Reigns. I think that's the match that everyone would build and want to see. I don't think it's actually going to be The Rock versus Grayson Waller, but it's a great thing for Grayson Waller to get interaction with The Rock on social media. Twitter right now, I've seen today it's going to be renamed to X. Elon Musk, explain, please. Yeah, it's going to be a big change apparently on Twitter, but still, the interaction was there, of course, on social media. Waller for there gets more exposure to a completely different audience. So, you know, that's amazing for him. He's still new on SmackDown and he's doing good things. Let's be fair. So, yeah, shout out to Grayson Waller. Would it be great? It'd be massive for his career to have any interaction with the Rock, and of course he did have it with John Cena at Money in the Bank. So maybe it's not even a match that's needed, just maybe just some form of confrontation, some sort of face-to-face would be awesome to see. But like I say, if The Rock does come back, it's Roman for me. Nubia asking the question, and this is the money question here, who is eating that pinfall in the triple threat match, Bianca Belair or Charlotte Flair? Because Noob is predicting Asuka is retaining. At this stage, I feel the same as you. Honestly, it's a good question. It could go either way, really. Both would work beautifully for the storyline, because if Bianca and Charlotte break off into a feud like I expect them to, both will have the other one to blame, whoever takes the pinfall. It almost feels, I don't want to say the word irrelevant, but I would say it would be maybe the slightly more preferable choice for me. Charlotte Flair to take the pinfall, because Bianca Belair can get even more upset because of the fact she still hasn't been beat since in the rematch for the championship. Therefore, she gets more upset if she doesn't get another opportunity. And, well, if a heel turn is meant to be coming with Bianca Belair, take it with a pinch of salt in the rumour mill, then that will be a good way to go in that direction. But for me, Belair, Flair, I'm really looking forward to that feud. And I'm looking forward to what happens with Asuka in this title reign, because so far for me, you know, this is a big match for Asuka to be involved with. And it does feel like that the SmackDown Women's Division really heating up. We've got Bayley there as well with the feud with Shotzi, but keeping an eye on things as well with, obviously, Io Sky being the Money in the Bank holder. So there's a lot going on with these ladies right now, and I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes next. Shout out to Ghost Spider in-house as well. Ghost Spider, hope you're doing well. Thank you for joining us, and get involved with the questions. And like I say, Q&A format, can talk things WWE, can talk about AEW, can talk about NXT, Impact Wrestling. Feel free to get involved. But in the meantime, at the moment, let's get Richard's comment up first. I've missed that one. I think Bianca Belair will pin Io Sky, failed cash in to lose the Money in the Bank contract. Richard, I'm going to agree with you. I actually feel that this will be the first time the women's Money in the Bank briefcase will not be successful. And I think the reason for it, actually, you've obviously got Bianca Belair to actually win that there, by the way, to win the championship, which is quite a cool prediction there. But whoever the champion is, I think that Io Sky will lose because of Bayley. I think that Bayley obviously will remember what happened at Money in the Bank, will wait for the right moment to cost Io Sky that cash in. And I think that will be even Steven. They can go into their feud, and maybe Io Sky could be an outside shout for the Royal Rumble. We've already talked about the Royal Rumble on this stream already. Io Sky, potentially for the Women's Royal Rumble, I wouldn't be against that idea if they were to go and do that. Noob, you're reading my mind. This is exactly where I was about to go just before more comments came in. So I'm glad you brought this up. Speaking of Bianca Belair, do you think she'll be a part of the revival of the Hurt Business? That's a great question, because Bobby Lashley, he's returned the last couple of weeks on SmackDown. He's got the suit on. He's rocking the suit, isn't he? Let's be fair. And he's had meetings, first off, with the Street Profits. That was week 1. And now at week 2, we've seen Carmelo Hayes and, of course, Trick Williams as well. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. If that is a group of 5 there, look, it's a bit lazy, I suppose, to call it Hurt Business. I think they'll have a different name. And I'm not calling you lazy, by the way, Noob, for saying that, because I'm going to say Hurt Business 2.0 for the purpose of this video. But at the same time, I think they'll probably go with a new name. I don't think they'll go back exactly to where they were with it, because there was different members before, and I think that that's where they'll look to do it. They'll look to mix it up, make it fresh, you know, that sort of vibe with it. But for Bianca Belair to be a part of this group as well, for me, obviously females now are starting to get involved with these groups as well with the males. You only got to look at Judgment Day, with Rhea Ripley being a prime example right now. It can do some wonderful things. And I think if we see a real change in the characters as well, obviously Bobby Lashley potentially being a heel, Street Profits with the heel side as well, Bianca being a heel, obviously Carmelo Hayes would be perfect for that mid-card area as well for the group. And obviously, I mean, Trick Williams, he's a great mouthpiece. I know people say, where's MVP at? Obviously, he's with Almost right now. Like I say, let's mix it up. Let's start it afresh. Bobby Lashley realized he couldn't trust the people he had before. Let's have a whole new group involved with it. Yes, people will call it Hurt Business 2.0, but for me, I think that you don't get profit without business, do you? Or business doesn't work without profit. So for me, I'm kind of enjoying the idea and the direction of where this can go. I think this group potentially could be a mega group if it's brought into WWE. And of course, with the idea now, and I did a video a week ago when Survivor Series was released, and it didn't say the word War Games. Apparently, Tom Colohue has actually looked into it, and apparently War Games isn't being discussed. A group like this coming in would be perfect for a War Games match, because obviously now with the bloodline that's crumbled. Obviously Judgment Day is something that could work as well. Could they go against each other? Who knows? Maybe it's not a heel group. Maybe Judgment Day are the heels and Bobby Lashley's group of the faces. After all, the draft means nothing at this moment. Dominic Mysterio has been at all 3 shows this week, so they can do what they want if they wanted to at this particular one. And of course, at PLEs, people are under the same roof as well. But Noob, fantastic for bringing that comment in for us here, because exactly something I really want to talk about as well. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to do so. Vegeta, I never know if I get that right or not, so I need to find a way to know that for sure. But thank you for joining the stream. Hope you're doing well. Women have never found a cash-in, exactly, which and why I think this time Io Sky, although I think she should be going on to become a champion, I think she will actually fail on this occasion. It'll be a first time ever that's done, and I think that the reason to protect her, Bailey, makes the most sense to do it, and it'll be interesting to see when it will be, but she should cash in at SummerSlam. It could be the destination. I wouldn't be surprised. For me, I do think that it could be, I'm going to go as latest Fastlane. That's the latest I think it will be. It could be as soon as Payback. I think there could be an opportunity even. No, I think Io Sky will probably look to try and take the opportunity, actually. I don't think it will be a straight one-on-one match. I think that comes later. And I do think when we do eventually get Asuka versus Io Sky, I think it's going to absolutely probably steal the show of whatever show that is on. But yeah, potentially whenever it will be, I agree, be a failed cash-in, and we've not had that before. Temple Plays is in the house, ladies and gentlemen. Temple, thank you for joining us. Hope you're doing well on this Sunday evening. And obviously, Temple Plays doing lots of content on the channel there, keeping you up to date with all the fantasy booking and wrestling promotions that he's booking as well. So make sure to go and give a subscribe, go and check out the content as well. Always a lot of fun stuff. Ghost Spider 2003 says, my opinion, if LA Knight doesn't dethrone Austin Theory, then Rey Mysterio should dethrone Austin Theory for the United States Championship before he retires. It's just my opinion. And Ghost Spider, no one can tell you you're wrong. It's just your opinion. And now the thing is, I actually don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I think Rey Mysterio against Austin Theory actually is a big time match, and that actually could be what they're looking to do for SummerSlam, just purely because Rey Mysterio, a big name, and you know, it's another sort of notch on the belt, if you want, for Austin Theory. He's had some big wins as United States champion, and Rey Mysterio will be another one on there if they do that match. Of course, Santos Escobar's pinned Austin Theory this past week on SmackDown. Makes me feel like that perhaps Escobar is going to be the one that gets the championship opportunity. If not, maybe it's a good excuse to get one further down the line. But we'll have to wait and see how it's all going to play out. Vegeta here says that Santos is getting the US title, in my opinion. To be fair, it could be Santos Escobar. To be fair, he has actually had a pretty decent push in 2023. Now, I know he's lost quite a few matches, so people may say, well, hang on, where's that coming from? But to sort of, you know, get more TV time than what Legado were getting, to build up with the Latino World Order, which has been really successful. You look through, you know, with the Puerto Rico show with Backlash and stuff, and pushing forward, it's been a top merch seller wherever it's been. Obviously, being aligned with Rey Mysterio as well never hurts. Zelina Vega's done really well in the group also, so they've really pushed those 3 members of the group. And Santos now always seems to be in and around. He's spending the Money in the Bank this year, now potentially getting the chance for the United States Championship. He's had a very decent year, to be fair, and to be fair, I think he's got the credentials to be a United States champion in WWE, so I wouldn't be against the move if they did it. I just think at the moment, for me, I'm going to stick my guns out. I do think LA Knight still will be the next United States champion, even though I don't think they'll obviously be happening before SummerSlam. Eric Douglas says, for me, the Outcasts are getting kind of boring. Great take from Eric Douglas here, because this is something I can really stick my teeth into. To be honest, I've actually enjoyed the Outcasts, and I've enjoyed them more of late, purely because of the fact that I know we're not seeing Saraya as much in an in-ring capacity, but I do feel that they were not picking enough wins at the start, so that's where I was kind of losing a bit of, I'm going to say, interest in it. But now, Toni Storm's now the champion. We've seen Ruby actually get to the final with the Owen again. Still the bridesmaid. not the bride, but at the same time, she's getting closer to getting one of these big wins. And I do feel, for me, with the Outcasts, I don't mind it. I just kind of feel to myself that this storyline may have taken a bit more of a focal point direction. We know exactly clearer where they were going with the Outcasts at this point had there not been injuries. I'm guessing Saraya, I don't know what her situation is, but not in ring as much. Jamie Hayter definitely injured at this point. Like you say, with a Sky Blue potential contender could be what could happen if we don't get Jamie Hayter back. So we'll have to wait and see what will go on. But for me, I am okay with it at this point. I think particularly Tony Storm, for me, has really been a standout since winning that championship back. Temple Place here says WWE needs to push LA Knight to the top and not the US title. And reasons for this can be talked about on my Insta page. I made a valid point. Well, unfortunately, Temple, I'm a long way away from your Insta page right now on a live stream. So if you can let me know on here, it would be really, really good. But of course, on Instagram, not just on YouTube. So make sure we're going to drop a follow. But what I would say is, just because I know that you're a bit late to the stream from what I said earlier on, when you compare to the likes of Gunther, who's done wonderful things with the Intercontinental Championship, you look now and say, when Gunther drops that championship, he's only going to the main event. There's nowhere else for him to go. You could argue that LA Knight perhaps can skip his way up, but the journey for me is better to see that for LA Knight. If he just goes straight against Roman now, if he loses, which he will, it's not going to look good for him. And I think that that's when you kind of think, okay, right, the momentum is just dropping for him afterwards. I want to see the momentum carried and build. And I want to compare him. People are comparing him to Austin and Rock. Like I said, they had some great mid-card title runs on the road to becoming champion. I mentioned Austin. He won King of the Ring. He won the Royal Rumble. But before winning the world title, after those two things, he won the Intercontinental Championship first. So for me, that's why I think the US title is certainly where I want to see him go now. After that, I'm hoping the sky's the limit. And like you said, all the way to the top. I just think the US title in the meantime is the placeholder to get himself to that next level. I think that's what I want to see play. And I think that not just for the superstar, I want to see it for the championship as well, because Austin Theory is on his way. He just feels since WrestleMania, and arguably since the move to SmackDown, that's where it's lost his way. And I'm not making the way reference there intentionally. But yeah, that's my feelings of it anyway. But so you're going to say, do you think WWE's dropped the ball with LA Knight? At this stage, no. We go into more detail of LA Knight, actually. Obviously, he had the week he was off SmackDown, which was the Madison Square Garden show. I initially thought, why is he not on this show? I was like, with everybody else, thinking, LA Knight needs to be on this show. But at the same time, I then thought about it afterwards and looked and seen the social media numbers. You looked at the YouTube clips, you looked at Twitter, you looked at Instagram. The numbers were huge to go and see what LA Knight was doing. The only thing I think that was bigger, I believe, was the Tribal Court on that week when it came to like YouTube views. If this was a test to see if there's interest in LA Knight by not putting him on the show, releasing a digital exclusive, they got their answer. LA Knight was so over and people are interested in what he's doing. It's not just the merch t-shirt that's selling really, really well. It's also the fact that this guy, literally, we can put him on the screens and he's going to actually gain viewership. And it's proof for social media by doing this. So I don't think they've dropped the ball. I think they were just testing the waters. And if plans have not been in place before SummerSlam, it shows something that you like and what I like. WWE has long-term booking. They're not budging. If they had a plan there for Austin Theory to take on, say, Santos Escobar, potentially could be Rey Mysterio, whoever it's going to be, Theory may get through that hurdle. LA Knight could be waiting on the other side. He didn't take the pinfall on SmackDown. If he took the pinfall, I think I would turn around and say, drop the ball a bit there. But I don't think someone said, yeah, he wasn't involved in the decision. Therefore, I think he hasn't really lost the momentum because he didn't lose the match. He didn't win it, but he didn't lose it either. So I think for me, LA Knight, not yet, if you're saying if they drop the ball. Had they the potential to do so? Yes. Could they do so? Yes. They've done it with others in the past, and we've seen it with our favourites. How many people have we liked and we've given up on because of the fact that we just won't push them? I mentioned Zack Ryder earlier, and I mentioned Rusev Day, which was massive at the time. Do you know something was massive for me, and I wanted to see go all the way to the top, and he did, technically. Dolph Ziggler. I was a massive Ziggler fan for about 4 or 5 years, and when he won the championship the night after WrestleMania 29, I think it was, huge pop. And of course, look, the concussion, the injury stopped that. But after that, they sort of gave a little bit to Dolph, and then they took it all away. The momentum was there. I think of Survivor Series 2014. The guy was the sole survivor, main event of a top pay-per-view, and it still was a top 4 pay-per-view, in my opinion. Never changed my mind on that over Money in the Bank. It's still a top 4 show. And after that, Dolph Ziggler was just not doing anything. He was nowhere near WrestleMania. He was nowhere near going back for a world championship. And it just felt after a while, you kind of got to a point, it was like 2015 not happening, 2016 didn't happen. And eventually I just gave up on Dolph. And now we're seeing as a free agent in WWE, barely used on TV. Longevity, he's done fantastic. Still does great matches each and every week, but it's a believability factor. Disappeared. I hate that's happened to LA Knight. Do I think it's going to happen? I don't. I don't think it's going to happen. I actually believe the PW Torch report that's come out today, Vince McMahon seemingly becoming a fan of LA Knight. If that is something that's happening, LA Knight has definitely got a bright future in WWE. Whatever the way it's going to be done, he'll get there. And the thing is as well, at the moment, the guy is so over that I think people will be chanting for him anyway. I believe there's a new Twitter account, the Yeah Movement. Just give a shout out to that because I just think very good, very creative, by the way. Obviously with the Yes Movement, I think the Yeah Movement is actually something that could genuinely happen, especially if we don't get LA Knight getting that winning streak soon. Vegeta says, why should LA Knight be pushed just because he has a pop? I think, well, because people care. People want to see him. As I mentioned in the last question there, he's getting numbers. He's selling merch. He's doing things that the company will want him to do. And now, is he going to be someone that's going to be your face of the company for the next 15, 20 years? No, he's not. But if you look at someone like AJ Styles, who came in also at probably even older than what LA Knight is at this moment, and was top of the game for like 5 years, having great matches and being WWE champion. LA Knight can be that guy. He should get a push because he's doing something that's clicking, that's working. The only thing of why I could go onto your side here saying why should it be pushed right now if other plans are in place, yeah, do the plans you've got in place, because if you're scrapping everything you're doing last minute booking, you might have a plan that's meant to happen with Santos and Rey Mysterio. We've got a match between these two this week, two LWO stablemates going head to head. Is this going to lead to the breakup sooner than something that's been predicted on this channel with the chat with myself? Maybe that's going to build. Maybe we need that match to happen. It's not just LA Knight in play. So, yeah, I agree that why should he get pushed there? Why should it be rushed is probably what I would say. But why should he be pushed? Well, because he's delivering numbers, he's selling merch, he's doing everything that WWE needs to do. And if you do it then and actually give the fans what they want, it can carry further. And if it carries further, that's how you build a star. And that's what we need to do in WWE. We need to build stars. And even if it's for the short term, LA Knight certainly has got all the tools to do so. On the mic, he's incredible. He gets that pop. His matches are not 5-star, but was Austin's, was The Rock's. They weren't 5-star matches. Going back and watching the Attitude Era now, half of the stuff we watch is they're not good matches, half of them. But the thing is, though, those people got over. They had characters, they had catchphrases, they had everything that worked and clicked. And LA Knight has dug into that, got it, and it's working. So for me, he should get that push. Temple Blaze says, LA Knight is your most over guy in the company, right? Why not push that agenda and have him be the one to beat Roman for the WWE champion? Is he the most over guy in the company, though, right now? I mean, I know he's a top merchandise seller, but so is Cody Rhodes as well. And obviously Cody is up there right now. He's had a believable story, if you will, if he wins the championship tomorrow. LA Knight doesn't have that yet. And that's why I feel that if you were telling me, and we mentioned this with Eric's comment earlier on about the Royal Rumble win, if you take 6 months of good, strong booking with LA Knight from now, add the US title run in there because you can do so. Austin's run was only a few months. I think The Rock's was only a few months with the IC title. So do that for a few months, drop the championship, go into the Rumble season, still got the heat of the crowd behind him, got the catchphrases working. Why not? Then it's all right. If you've built this guy up with a story for 6 months to say this is going to be a top guy going into WrestleMania, then why not? But right now, obviously, I would say if you went LA Knight, Cody Rhodes, I'm more of a fan of LA Knight. But Cody Rhodes is the guy right now because Cody is the one that's been pushed as the main eventer for, I know he's been injured for half of the time he's been back, but he's been pushed for the last 15, 16 months as a top guy. And even outside of the championship picture is programs of Brock Lesnar, which is someone that's a top guy in the company. LA Knight has been feuding with, he's been feuding with Xavier Woods. He's been feuding with, yes, Bray Wyatt. That's a big name. But outside of that, LA Knight needs to have a few more of those bigger names there. And Austin Theory, for me, that's why it's a perfect one to have at this time, because Austin Theory beat John Cena at WrestleMania. I think pretty much what I'm trying to say is, Temple, we want the same destination. I just maybe have a different philosophy maybe of where I think of getting there. But certainly, I'm not against your method either. If we get LA Knight to the top, I'm not complaining, put it that way. Yeah, storytelling could be is what LA Knight needs. That's what he needs right now. That if he has that, brilliant. He can get himself to the next level. And a starting point for me, like I said, the US title is just to continue to make the championship relevant. Gunther's done it, LA Knight can do it. And I think if there's some meaningful programs, look at the people that actually just talk about the mid card quickly. Grayson Waller with LA Knight on the mic would be golden right now. Those two are doing some great stuff, and Grayson Waller just coming from NXT as well. That'd be great for him to get into the mid card picture. We mentioned Santos Escobar, Rey Mysterio. We've got Cameron Grimes in there, Sheamus. We've got, lots of different people that he could be in the ring with. And LA Knight, I'm sure, certainly on the mic, can hold his own with all of them in ring as well. There's no reason why the Megastar can't do it. Daz with a question. Everyone says, who do you should, if not Finn, dethrone Seth Rollins? So who should be the champion if not Finn Balor? Now here's the thing for me. Let's quickly get everybody out of comments. We can do 2 in 1 here. Which is saying Finn won the match with Seth. Should win this one. He won at SummerSlam, yes, back in 2016. Lost at Money in the Bank. But if it's not Finn, and I'm not convinced that I'm not completely set on my prediction. Sometimes I know very early where I think it's going to go. Storytelling will tell me if I change my mind or not. I think Finn has a chance on this, and my reasoning for it is probably a predictable route for SummerSlam, but imagine if Finn did, and then Damian Priest cashed in on the same night. That's, for me, the feeling of where I could see it going. Couldn't see Finn holding the championship for 3, 6, 12 months. As much as I'd like to see it, I don't think it's going to happen. So I think that Seth, if he wins the match, Damian Priest will be a great shout. I mean, you won Money in the Bank. I want to see new stars built to the top. Damian Priest has had a hell of a 2023. Certainly since WrestleMania, it's been unbelievable with some of the stuff he's been doing. Bad Bunny winning Money in the Bank. Judgment Day as a whole have been brilliant. So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be against that. But taking Judgment Day aside, there's only one name that will come for me. It's Gunther. Gunther, I think, would be incredible as the World Heavyweight Champion on Monday Night Raw. He's already been groomed, and it feels like a theme of the video. We're talking about LA Knight. He's been groomed for the position. He had such a great reign as IC champion. Even if he loses to Drew McIntyre at SummerSlam, as much as now I want him to break the record, Gunther just goes, okay, right, IC title, we're done. We're moving up to the next level. We're going for that world title. And Seth then really should be worried, because if he gets through Finn, if he gets through Priest, I don't see him getting through Gunther. That's my feeling on it. Guys, Father says, my opinion, Austin Theory should be a serious heel. And do you know what? I agree with you. He should be a serious heel. Obviously, have the comedy stuff with the mobile phones, the selfies, the Tyler Breeze gimmick, of course, which I enjoyed when he first came up. But now we've moved on to another level. Like I said, we've got more of a serious side. For me, I do like a more serious Austin Theory. And I think I'm a big fan of Pretty Deadly. I just feel that the mesh of them two working together doesn't work for me. I prefer Theory to have up-and-comers. I'd like him to make a group from NXT. I think that would be a good way to do it. Maybe take 2, 3 guys from NXT. I know Pretty Deadly were from NXT, but like I say, they're more flamboyant, they're more out there. It's serious heel. People are actually going to watch Theory's back and actually, I don't know, have that serious side with him. We could say Creed Brothers could be ones that come to mind. They need something to do now if they're going to come to the main roster, but they're baby faces at this particular time. But certainly, I look at Theory, and I know Tempo, I think we've talked about this before in previous streams, but like the idea of like an Evolution style stable would work really, really well. But Theory obviously wouldn't be that top guy at this moment, so it couldn't be exact as that. But that's my mindset of where I'm thinking. If I'm thinking of a stable for Austin Theory, that type of thing, maybe Legacy if you want, with Randy Orton, for example, when you had Cody Rhodes and Ted DiBiase. There's sort of next breakout stars that will follow him. Maybe like a Bron Breakker, for example, would be perfect watching Austin Theory's back right now. For me, that would be probably a really good combination to have. Temple says here, it won't be Jimmy. Solo isn't ready. Cody lost the momentum. Roman's already been pinned, so the Cody finishing the story would be pointless. Priest, no. I see him cashing in on Rollins or Balor. So I'm guessing those are the points of why it should be L.A. Knight. In fact, we'll do it again. L.A. Knight. Just so we get that. We need to get the catchphrases in, peeps. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it's a valid point. I don't see Jay winning the championship. I don't think Solo is ready. I agree with you. Do I think Cody's lost momentum? Obviously, for the world title with Roman at this moment, because they're on the opposite shows. But I think Cody's still got a big fan base there. I think people still follow Cody. The woes are still massive with each and every show. Whether it's piped in or not, it still feels legit when you hear it from home. So I see where you're coming from. For me, as I said, if you just catapult LA Knight there, I'm not for that just yet. I want to see a bit of a journey for LA Knight to get there. There's already a journey in play, seeing LA Knight to get the push, to get into TV, to get into a spot that we want to see him get to. So that storyline is already in motion, which is good to see. The only thing for me is how we're going to take those steps when he actually gets to be a prominent player on TV, and that's what I'm really excited for. And hopefully, fingers crossed, you and I will not be let down, because that's what we want to see here. We want to see him do well. Eric says, my issue with them is that I'm not really into them. Just use the original as jobbers. Let's just click that again. Sorry, Eric, I was struggling with the comment for a second. Not really into, let's just see the original as jobbers. So pretty much like they're either beating jobbers or they are used as jobbers. I suppose either way, they were losing a lot of matches at the start, so I can see your point with that. That's what I would say to begin with. But they have picked up momentum since they got a championship on their run. I think it would have helped if Ruby had won the Owen Hart, but at the same time, I was so happy Willow won it because A, she's awesome, and B, the Owen Hart tournament means so much more in year 2 than it did on year 1, and you can already see how it's played out. If you look at Willow Nightingale, she's going to become the ROH Women's World Champion, of course, to the death before the summer show, beating Athena in the main event, by the way. A match I've still yet to see, but I've heard really, really good things, so I can't wait to check it out. For me, that this immediately shows you won that tournament and you've gone on and won a title immediately. I'm sure people will say, well, it's Ring of Honor, it's not AEW, but at the same time, at this moment in play, Willow had a chance not so long ago. She's been New Japan Strong Women's Champion as well. She's on a good run right now, is what I'm saying. She's carried on the momentum from winning that tournament. And Ricky Starks, I mean, unbelievable. I mean, I've got to say, with Collision, it's becoming one of my... I didn't think I would be able to give full devotion, let's say, to watching Collision on a weekly basis. It's becoming a show that I feel like I can't miss, and I'm really enjoying the work of Ricky Starks. Of course, winning in the fashion that he did, and just seeing that swagger. The guy was oozing charisma once again this week on Collision, and, you know, it's kind of like, I was talking to Mex just before coming on here on Twitter, and he said, like, it's kind of like a tweener character, and I can totally see where he's coming from with that comment, because of the fact that fans are still kind of cheering Ricky Starks at this moment, but at the same time, he's kind of teamed on the heel side with Christian Cage. So it's kind of really playing with, you know, with CM Punk as well being the feud as well. Obviously, CM Punk divides opinion across where you're going to go. So the reactions are going to change depending on what city you're going to be in. And it's interesting to see how it's going to play out as a story. But for me, Ricky Starks, for me, I mean, obviously the devil, maybe MJF, but I tell you what, wearing Prada, it's Ricky Starks. And I tell you what, it's just great to see Ricky back to how Ricky does his things best, because I'm not saying he became so bland, but it was going that way as a babyface. It just felt like, I don't know if the plans were there for Ricky Starks as a babyface. Tony Khan just didn't seem to have things in motion, but now we've got Collision running, a feud with CM Punk. Ricky Starks is going up levels. It just shows what the Owen Hart tournament can do. And obviously, Owen Hart, of course, winning King of the Ring back in 1994. Retro review on the channel if anyone wants to check out at any point. But yeah, it just goes to show Owen Hart at that point sort of was cheating, doing his way to get his wins and stuff to prove he was the same as Brett at that time. And yeah, for me, it's just doing wonderful things for Ricky Starks so far. And it just really feels that that tournament means a lot more after year 2. It's really nice to see. Going in on to Ghost Spider says, hot take, heel Bobby Lashley is a main eventer, face Lashley is a mid-carder. Interesting point there, but to be fair, Bobby Lashley, at the time he was champion, mostly was a heel at the top of the card. So you have some legs of what you're saying so far. The evidence is on paper from what I can see. I'm not sure I read this comment September. I'll bring this up in case I missed it. LA Knight is the guy to beat Roman. He's so over, so why not deceive it on that expect alone? For me, I just look at it and say, yeah, I mean, LA Knight can be someone that could be there, but we've been there with Sammy, we've been there with others at that time. We said they will be the ones, they will be the ones. It's hard to know with Roman's story where it's going to end, and I'm sure if you did the story tomorrow, like I said with LA Knight, we know how it ends. 6 months, 8 months, 10 months, WrestleMania, whenever that's from here from now. If you can build a story between now and then and make it believable, which, let's be fair, I think it can be believable if you do it the right way, yeah, potentially it can happen. It can happen, but at the moment, if you ask me, I don't think it would happen right now. It just says Roman being pinned in the tag match does not end Cody's story. What a stupid thing to say. I don't think that's what was said earlier on. I think what was said there was Cody's story ended at WrestleMania at that point because of the fact he didn't beat Roman. I think that was what was being said earlier. Roman being pinned in the tag match just didn't have anything to do with Cody, really. It just had to do with the idea of the Bloodline storyline. So, yeah, I wouldn't read too much into it, Vegeta, at this particular moment. They don't have any connection. Pac versus Gravity is a long-term booking and storytelling at its finest. I'm just going to plug that here. I love that you brought it in there as well. I did have a lull moment when I did see you post that on Insta before as well. Yeah, it's quite fun to see. I've never seen Gravity before, by the way. I know he was a part of the Ring of Honor show that's just taken place, which I've not had the ability to see yet, but certainly interested to see what Pac will do. Obviously, now walking away from Blood and Guts, I was kind of a bit disappointed he walked away out of the match, if I'm honest. Even more disappointed that he lost to Cardio 2 days later in Ring of Honor, just purely because of the fact I want to see Pac do well. I want to see him in a high-profile position going forward in AEW. It just feels to me now, I just feel that Pac will probably, if he has a program with Kenny Omega now, he's going to lose it, which is quite a shame to see. Richard says, Raw needs to add Chelsea Green versus Raquel Rodriguez tomorrow. Well, WWE, if you're watching, you've got a viewer here that would like to see that match tomorrow. I wouldn't be against seeing that match. Obviously, it depends how Raquel's conditioning is after, of course, being injured last week during the match, or before the match, should we say, from Rhea Ripley. And, of course, potentially we could be getting Rhea versus Liv Morgan in the short term as well. Wouldn't be surprised if we got that on Raw. The attack that was done in the main event last week on Raw. But yeah, we'll be down for seeing it. I'm really pleased for Chelsea Green. She's been one of the best rehires for WWE. The character's done so well, and you know, the team with Sonya Deville, yes, they've had more of a push in the last couple of weeks with the plans that have changed with the women's tag team division, but let's be happy for the people that have got those championships, and very deserving. Sonya Deville as well, the amount of work and graft she's put in and everything she's been through as well. Had a difficult spell at one point, of course. Remember when she was away from the company after, I believe it was after SummerSlam 2020, came back as a GM at the time, or GM, if you will, with Adam Pearce, done unbelievable in that role. Has come back in as a competitor, looking to find her way, and now as tag team champion. I don't believe she's held a championship in WWE previously, so really happy for Sonya Deville as well. Eric says, remember, it took Liv a year and a half for them to finally push her. And that's true. I mean, that's the thing as well, that Liv Morgan is another one that's had a really big fan base as well, waiting for the opportunity there. And it did happen for her. And obviously at that point, and I suppose this is what could happen, I suppose, is that if you don't have the plans in place to carry on, it kind of fell for the short time. People lost belief in it. I don't know if it's because it was against Ronda Rousey. I don't know, but what I would say is that yeah, I mean, hopefully Liv will get an opportunity again at some point, because she's still massively over at this point. But here we are where we are. We move further down, and Ghost Spider says, I heard a rumor from the wrestling blog, Gigi Dolan, Bron Breakker, Carmelo will get a call-up to the main roster very soon. Not aware of the wrestling blog, if I'm honest, as a source, but thank you for sourcing it. I appreciate that, Ghost Spider. I wouldn't be surprised with any of those names being called up to the main roster, actually. I've seen with a couple of sources, which unfortunately do escape my brain. I've not got the sources handy for you now, that Gigi Dolan is someone that's very thought highly of in WWE, could be going with that call up. And obviously with Carmelo Hayes being backstage on SmackDown, that's a question. Does Ilya Dragunov get the win when it comes to NXT on the Great American Bash show? Because Carmelo Hayes would be free to go to SmackDown and join Bobby's group if that's what they want to do. Bron Breakker, for me, I think is a shoo-in. I feel like it's been a long time of waiting to see him go to the roster of Raw or SmackDown, and be interested to see where he will end up when he eventually does get there. Ghost Fellas says, my opinion is hot take Damian Priest could beat the next Undertaker. It's a hot take, certainly indeed, for your opinion there. I mean, obviously, Damian Priest in the Judgment Day group, it's a bit of a, one of those sort of stables, if you will. So we'll have to wait and see how it'll play out. He's got a long way to go, though, in my opinion, if we're going to get there. Which just says, Rusev was selling mad merch at one point. He was, and he should have got the push. His push, though, at that time was the, I believe, SmackDown Tag Team Championships when he won those with Aiden English. Of course, those were the kind of combined together. So, and Rusev has been mid-card champion a good couple of times as well. And Knight hasn't been a champion in WWE at this point. So Rusev has been there. He has done it in some format. Should have been pushed further? Yes, he should have done, because he was very, very over. But WWE didn't do it, and he's another example of when fans gave up on it. And that's the thing. And this is why where I stand with it, why WWE should get behind this people, because regardless of how me and Temple spoke during this, with our opinions during this, we both want the same thing. We both want to see LA Knight pushed higher from the card in WWE. And by so many fans seemingly wanting that, because the reactions are so good, merchandise is selling, if WWE gives the fans what they want, the fans are happy. And then the fans believe that there's a potential the next person they really, really like has a chance of making it. There was a time in the tens, the teens, whatever you want to call it, where it was, let's push Roman Reigns. Let's push him as a babyface. This was pre-Bloodline. This was succotash times, and people like Rusev and people that were getting over at the time were not getting pushed. And all of a sudden, you start thinking, well, I wanted that guy to get pushed. I really wanted this person to get pushed. I really wanted her to get pushed. And none of them got their pushes. And all of a sudden, you start thinking, it doesn't matter who we get behind. We're not going to get our way. And then you get shows where I was picking Corpus Christi, where it's dead silent. You don't hear a thing. You don't hear a pin drop. It feels like people aren't interested. It feels like they're just, stand-ins that are watching the show because they have to. They're getting paid to do it, rather than actual fans coming in. And that's what happens. And all of a sudden, if you start seeing yourself like, right, imagine, let's take Stone Cold Steve Austin. So it's being compared to LA Knight a lot. Imagine Steve Austin getting over as Austin did. What chance, whatever, the stunners, your beer, all the rest of it, and WWE didn't push him. I know Austin made, but Austin could have been a guy that didn't push. And you think to yourself, well, what if they didn't do it? Where would we be now? It's a big question. We don't know where we'd be now. So sometimes you have to give the fans what they want. And Rusev, they didn't. Maybe they were right to, but in AEW, I actually enjoyed Miro's work when he's been in there. And I do feel that if he was that sort of character that came in now, I'd really, really like it. I'd really, really like him to be in WWE with that style of character. I think Miro should be getting pushed in AEW further than what he is. Maybe he'll get that push. But yeah, anyway, I feel I'm going off point now, but you get where I'm going with the whole thing. But Rock and Austin never had 5-star matches. No, you're right. I don't care about that personally. No, and neither do I. I don't care about it either. I like the fact that you cared every time they wrestled. And when they wrestled each other, I mean, to be fair, they didn't have a 5-star match, but they had a near close one in WrestleMania 17. That match is phenomenal between them two in the main event. So it just goes to show that it's not always about that, but it's about making people care. And I think that's the main thing we're coming from this string here. People care about LA Knight, so it's the good thing to to give him a push. And yeah, I do agree. He is good in ring. He is good. He's not someone that's like can do your flips and your dives, but he can do a flip. I've seen it in Impact Wrestling, but he doesn't do it very often. But it doesn't fit his character. He doesn't need to do that. And that's the other thing with a lot of wrestlers. LA Knight works towards a character, a definement of what he is. It's the personality on mic, and he uses that personality for his in-ring style in-ring. And I like that when it happens, because everybody's different then, rather than having the same thing over and over again. If you watch the same wrestlers do the same flips, same dives, each and every match, you feel like you're watching a rinse and repeat. And all of a sudden, no one's getting over because they're not original. And LA Knight stands out with that at the moment. He feels original, even though he's kind of people. Kevin Nash just been saying he's a throwback to 20 years ago. I'm starting to get near 25 years ago, but we'll skip past that. But at the same time, you start thinking to yourself, well, this he's got something. Let's roll with it and see where it goes. Vegeta says, I think Dragunov will beat Carmelo Hayes. Honestly, I can't wait for NXT this week to make my mind up, because I'm really on the fence with that one. And like I say, NXT predictions will be on Wednesday this week. Priestley is a very believable world champion. I think he could be a very believable world champion. I think he'd be good for the position. Obviously, we've seen there's some fans here today for Damian Priest to be in that position. He's got money in the bank. I don't want to see a found cash in for him, really. I would like to see him succeed. Obviously, I think the World Heavyweight title is the place to do it. Ghost Spider says, I think Cody Rhodes or Seth freaking Rollins will be one of them. Will dethrone Roman Reigns. Seth is a name that we're not talking about a lot recently. Obviously, they're on different shows, but Seth, there's a lot of history there. Roman hasn't beat Seth, so certainly not in the times WWE wants you to know about. So yeah, it's certainly a possibility there. Like I said, that story isn't fully finished at this moment. Richard says, I think Judgment Day might get an AJ Styles problem. Well, as I say, the draft means nothing at the moment, even though they're on different shows at the moment. But of course, AJ has got a problem at the minute with Karrion across, and looking forward to that feud finishing, so I'm not really feeling that, if I'm honest. Imagine Judas Creed versus Chad Gable. I cannot wait. Personally, as I said, I would love them together to begin with. I'd love to see them part of the Alpha Academy, but now Otis and Maxine Dupree are still with that group now. We don't necessarily need that at this particular moment. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Creeds went to SmackDown at the moment. But for me, I would love to see them on Raw, whether it's opponents or partnerships. The Creeds, along with Chad Gable, that works for me. Temple says, I think Judgment Day on 3 brands is overkill. I think certainly if you do it consistently, it is definitely overkill. I don't think we needed it on SmackDown this week personally, but at the same time, I understood why they did it. Obviously, a lot of NXT was in the house. They're in Orlando, Florida. I get it. I let it slide for this week, but at the same time, I do get where you're coming from. But let's talk about Dom quickly, because for me, I know that it divided a lot of opinions when it came to Wesley dropping that championship to Dominic Mysterio. And I've got to say, the only thing I would have changed, if you had to change anything, is a different stage. I felt a random episode of NXT was the wrong place to do it, but then who am I to say? Everyone's going to need to check into next week's NXT. Anything can happen at any time. You know, that's why you do that sort of stuff. So I totally get why they do it. But Wesley, arguably one of, if not the best North American champion of all time, and then he loses it on a random episode of NXT. Something I think always felt like Undertaker Brock-esque, because everyone felt like they were feeling Wesley was going to win the match. So NXT was shocked when Dom won it, but at the same time, Dom's got so much heat. He can't be IC champion right now. He's not going to throw Gunther. He can't be US champion right now. So the North American title, why not? He's got so much heel heat behind him right now. Everyone hates him. They won't let him talk. People want to see this guy get beat. They want to see him get beat. They want to see him drop that championship. It's money, really, when you think about it. Dom with a title really, really works. It's like we said with Money in the Bank. We want to see him in Money in the Bank because the idea of the people being frightened that he could actually get that briefcase, you know, was enough. And for him to win this title, people are going to hate it. People are genuinely going to boo him out of the building for him having a title. And it's going to be even more obnoxious on Raw every single week as well. For me, it's a really, really good move. I actually hope he retains it at the Great American Bash at this point. Before, I wanted Mustafa Ali to win it. I thought Wesley's time was coming, but I thought Ali was the one to do it. But now they put it on Dom. I'm feeling it. I'm not going to lie. I think it's actually a really, really genius move that WWE have done here. Vegeta says, JD was only on SmackDown because there was COVID issues. I was not aware of that information. Thank you for sharing that, Vegeta. I did not know that. Obviously, if you know the source for that for me as well, it'd be really, really great to know. But yeah, I wasn't aware of that. Fantasy booking from Ghost Spider. If Drew McIntyre should dethrone Gunther, then Braun Breaker should dethrone Drew McIntyre. And I tell you what, Ghost Spider would not be against that whatsoever. What a big splash to bring Braun Breaker up to beat a Drew McIntyre, a former world champion, would be amazing. You've actually mentioned Dom here, Tempo. I didn't see this coming until now. You put a couple of ones down. Dom winning the North American title when he's a main roster guy and having main roster talent on there just to put a rating without them, they can't do. If that's the case, does Solo get the first shot at Dom? Now, here's the thing, and I'm glad you brought that up, because Solo had to relinquish that championship when he came up to SmackDown. That didn't add up, did it? It didn't add up, let's be honest. But it's WWE. Things don't add up, do they, if we're being brutally honest? But you make a great point with Solo Sikoa. Not against that at all. The only thing I would say is that Dom with a championship, I just think right now really can work well. And Judgment Day are, again, they're another group that's pulling some numbers. So, yeah, I mean, I get why they're doing what they're doing. But I don't think they should be on all 3 shows each and every week for forever. That feels too much for me. Daz says, when will we know what matches will be made for All In? Soon, I think we're going to start building. So we've got just under 5 weeks to go now to that show. And we have a match set for All Out with Darby Allin going for the TNT Championship, so I'm guessing that's not going to be on All In. I'm guessing it's going to be against Luchasaurus or Christian Cage, or whichever one fancies it on the night. But be interested to see what they'll do for that. So if a match has been made for All Out a week later, I think we'll soon start getting matches for All In. The thing I'm most interested in is MJF Adam Cole going to be done for All In, or is it going to be done for All Out? You would imagine for the American audience, as much as I want to see it at All In, that it probably will be at All Out. But I wouldn't be against the idea of doing the original match at All In and having a stipulation match at All Out, but maybe that's 2 matches too soon, if you will. At this point, we'll have to wait and see how it play out. But should be any time now, I would imagine. They're definitely going to be building towards it, and they already are by the look of it. Temple Blade says Gravity is Bandida's brother, if you didn't know. And, oh, I didn't know. I had no idea, so thank you for sharing, Temple. Vegeta says Braun would have to win a match to do that. Yeah, Braun is not winning matches of late, but it feels like Braun is putting people over on the way out of NXT, which, let's be fair, I think a lot of people do in wrestling in general, whether they're leaving the company, whether they're retiring, whether they're whatever they're going to be doing. Sometimes even when they change shows, that's what they do, and I think that's what Braun's doing here. He'll get back to winning ways as soon as he gets the call up to a Raw or SmackDown, and probably won't be losing for a while. Jesus says Butch already got a shot. Apparently Dragon Lee is getting one. I'm excited for that. I'm excited. Dragon Lee, I do feel Dragon Lee's been slightly, how can I put this? Not been booked as strong as I'd like to see him in NXT so far, but unbelievable entrance, unbelievable ring talent, and I do think Dragon Lee versus Dom, I think, could be pretty fun. Ghost One says Randy Orton versus the Demon Finn Balor, a dream match at WrestleMania 40. I'd like to see that match. That sounds like a really good match. I like that. Yeah, I'm down for that if they want to do that. Ghost One says, why does Sheamus keep losing against Austin Theory? Because Austin Theory is having an unbelievable run as United States champion. I know that for many it's gone a bit bland recently. I think it's more due to the stories that go with it. And I think, to be honest, as we've talked about Austin Theory a little bit in this video, I'll devote about 60 seconds to it. I kind of starting to wonder if WWE is doing it on purpose. Because the thing with John Cena was that if he had the match with John Cena, if he lost, he was going to be what next? And if he won, what next? I just wonder if there's something to it. Or maybe I'm giving WWE too much credit. I don't know. But Austin Theory at the moment, they're still making strong champion, picking up victories when he needs to. And yeah, I guess Sheamus doesn't need the United States Championship. He needs the IC title. It's on the other show, sadly. So yeah, I think that's the reason why. And they're building Theory up just so we can lose to LA Knight. Let's get there. Temple says Rey Mysterio has never turned heel before, but I may be wrong on that with his WCW run as the Filthy Animals. Yes, the Filthy Animals. Rey Mysterio turn heel will be something new and refreshing. Certainly in WWE, he has not been heel. You are correct. He was a heel on 2 occasions, part of the Filthy Animals in WCW, and ironically, both I believe were during the run of Vince Russo behind the pencil, which was a bit of a strange time. I didn't know how to react to it when I was watching. I won't lie to you, but certainly seeing it now in WWE would be refreshing. But could you imagine Ray aligning with Dom and being so proud of his son and stuff? Yeah, the story really plays itself out if they wanted to do it. Vegeta says Solo will be ready once Paul Heyman is on his side. Interesting. I think Solo will be ready. Solo will be ready. Solo is being groomed nicely. Solo is the guy that if you want to do that match, you do it at WrestleMania. That's the match you do for Solo because he could win the Rumble. He's already in the position. He's in the Bloodline storyline. He's every ingredient there. The teasers of the breakup with him have already started. So you can do that if you wanted to. So he would be ready at some point. Is he ready right now? No, but like I said, if you want to build this up for another 6 months or so, certainly it's the potential. And certainly if Jay loses, that's probably the next direction they'll start looking at. Because Roman will be taking time off, if I'm not mistaken, after SummerSlam. He's part-time after all. Now we see a lot more Roman Reigns than we expect to, but I'm guessing there will be a bit of a break time coming after SummerSlam. Ghost Wonder says that MJF is a boring champion. He's just like Roman Reigns. They both never defend their titles. MJF is an attraction, like you say, and Roman Reigns is an attraction at this point. I can understand the idea of wanting to see titles defended. Obviously, with WWE, you have Seth now that's defended his title, I believe, 11 times already. Excuse me a second. It's getting a bit dry. Yeah, Seth's defended that championship already, like, 11 times already. So you got that champion to balance things out in WWE. With MJF, with AEW, it's a bit different now. He's the world champion. As an attraction, it does work for me with MJF, but he's wrestling a lot more recently with the Adam Cole storyline. I'm really enjoying their work together. I think it's really, really good. And I think MJF, personally, for me, where we could argue that the first few months of his reign was not as interesting, I do feel that I'm personally very invested in what MJF is doing right now. So I can't agree with that, but I understand the reasoning for it. A champion should defend his championships, but MJF is that's just MJF. That's his character, and that's how he rolls. And he's one of the people I'm invested in AEW, so it would be wrong with me to agree. Eric says, what if nobody beats Roman and he retires with the titles? I mean, we spoke about it a minute ago, a Braun Breaker doing the job. I mean, you got to do the job. That's got to be done. If Roman just retires the time, you've not all them years, all them days, all that time, and not made a new star. We could make a new star. You have to do that. Whether it's giving it to Cody, whether it's LA Knight, whether it's Gunther, I'd take that match. Gunther's been pinned for however long, just like Roman hadn't been. You could have really built that up if Roman hadn't taken the pinfall. But what if it's Seth? You know, there are ways to do it, and Roman needs to make a star, preferably, in my opinion, a new star when he drops those titles. Vegeta actually believes that it will be within a year. At the moment, I'm thinking WrestleMania 40, and people will know that I didn't think that 6 months ago, but now I'm starting to stand on that hill with a lot of other people. Temple Blaine says, Adam Cole, MJF pairing is the best thing AEW is doing right now. I say, give them the titles now. And I've seen you posted as well, the reasoning for it also with, was it Roddy Strong and Kyle O'Reilly to take it off for them? I like the fantasy booking stuff you've got going on there. But for me, it's going to crumble, I think, on Collision next week. I'm excited for that tag team match with FTR. FTR, for me, unbelievable matches they are having right now. The tag team title. This is what we wanted of FTR the first time they were tag team champions, and wow, the stuff they're doing right now. The match with Bullet Club Gold last week was incredible, and I think this is going to be a really good match as well with Adam Cole and MJF. And the idea as well that the FTR have already put the story on this as well about the giving everything to tag team wrestling, and these two, you know, the mockery argument's made of it. But yeah, the pairing has been unbelievable. Really enjoyed the stuff they've done. I didn't enjoy the MJF, what was it? Was he in Chinese? Was it the spicy food segment? I didn't enjoy that as much as what a lot of other people did on social media. But I will say that the previous week with the computer game Fight Forever, and you know, MJF wanted to hook up with all the girls and stuff like that. That stuff was really entertaining. And yeah, they're doing some really fun stuff together. I love the entrance as well. I love the matching ring attire, jackets, and all that stuff going on there. They're definitely doing some really good stuff. It's definitely the best Can They Coexist storyline for a long, long time. Ghost Spider cloning at this point. Imagine heel Street Profits versus face Street Profits at WrestleMania 40. Definitely some cloning needed, my friend, but WWE 2K is there to have you sorted there, I would imagine. Hot take, I predict Man Adam Page and Wardlow jump to WWE in the future. Future's a long time, and do you know what? Certainly of those two, Wardlow. What's happened to Wardlow? Yeah, I think Wardlow would definitely be one that would benefit from that move at the moment, if I'm being honest. Hangman and Page, if the Bucks and Kenny move, you could be on something. You could be on something. Adam Cole, I just mentioned a minute ago, you've got it in the comments already there. Adam Cole and MJF have a decent run, have some defenses on the belt, and drop it to Roddy Strong and Kyle O'Reilly. Similar to what Roddy Strong did with Pete Dunne, if you remember, and I do remember indeed, NXT takeovers were awesome back in the day. Vegeta says Hangman would be great in WWE. I'd like to think so. I mean, if they keep bringing people in from AEW, obviously Brian Pillman Jr. is now the next rumored one to be coming in. I guess he'll go through NXT. I don't think he'll go through just like Cody did. It's at two different levels of the scale. But Hangman has been a world champion in AEW. If he was to go over to WWE, you can't put him in NXT. You've got to go to WWE, and I think certainly a mid to upper mid card guy would be a great place to start, and that would be a great way of selling it. Certainly, like I said, Kenny, it all comes down to Kenny and the Bucks as well. If they all decide they would want to leave AEW, make the jump to WWE, we're not even talking mid to upper mid card. They're all in the main event. They're getting what their way, because WWE would go all out to make sure they got them in. So yeah, I would say that yeah, if they went to WWE, probably would be very great indeed. And obviously Hangman, for me, is a really, really good babyface. I've enjoyed his story from minute one to minute now in AEW. I've always been invested with Hangman Adam Page, what he's been doing. It's been fantastic storytelling. Who remembers Roman reading Jack and the Beanstalk to the Big Show? Thankfully, I don't, Eric. I'm not even going to look that up on the network. Thankfully, I don't remember it, but I'm sure one or two people having nightmares reading that comment right now. Temple Blade says Hook would be great in NXT. I'm putting it out there. Hook versus Charlie Dempsey would be an amazing match. Would be an amazing match. For me, Hook, though, is over. I'm not really majorly invested in Charlie Dempsey at the moment in NXT, but I think that's more due to the lack of booking, if we want, right now. Obviously with Drew Gulak as well, let's be fair, he's a great in-ring technical wrestler, but yeah, I haven't seen enough, I think, of Charlie Dempsey to be really, really invested, but definitely a good in-ring talent though, so yeah, I'm sure the match will be amazing. Ed Fry's in the house as well. Everything's going very well. Ed, thank you for stopping in. And I've already mentioned everyone once, but I'll mention it again, of course, be on our local establishment, Ed's channel, next week, next Saturday, for NXT Great American Bash predictions. So that will be very kind for those that are actually UK watching as well. You have a nice early evening time to watch it in the afternoon for those in the States. And like I say, keep an eye on the community post. That's where I'll be posting the details for that probably in the next 24 hours. You can see that there. And then from then, every stream we'll do, you'll see me plug it a lot more better than what I'm doing now. Ghost Spider says a lot of people think Cody Rhodes is the only AEW wrestler to go to WWE. How about Blair Davenport? She was in AEW back in 2019. She was indeed. She is one that's made the jump over as well. And to be fair, Kiana James was on AEW Dark. I believe Fallon Henley was as well. So there are people that hasn't worked out from in AEW, gone to WWE. Just obviously, I think the scale, what we say, Cody is that's the real big name, and I think that's what the big gets. What people want to see. WWE fans want to see AEW talent move over rather than perhaps some of the lower card talent. Blair Davenport, heck of a talent. Looking forward to the match with Roxanne Perez at the Great American Bash. Taz wants Hook in NXT. I've not seen that report, if that's reports out there, but yeah, I mean, Taz has had a lot of time in WWE, and I think Hook would benefit actually in NXT. He's done good stuff in AEW. He was over at one point really massively, but certainly I don't think it's as much as what it was. But and he's dropped the championship this week to Jack Perry, which is an interesting character choice so far with music as well. I'm looking forward to seeing it play out further before I give a, let's say, a defined opinion of what I think so far. Temple says Pillman Jr. in NXT would be great. Also, him going to New Japan and joining Bullet Club with David Finlay would be amazing. Would be. I mean, he's just teased and said he's got his biggest opportunity of his career coming up. Either of those, I think, would probably justify that. So I think that certainly would be, yeah, would be interesting. But I think NXT is the likely one if I had to guess right now. Ed says, where's dropping the titles? The perfect choice. It popped a 700k rating that will continue to draw eyes next week until the Great American Bash. Completely agree with you. A little bit of a spoiler alert for my predictions. Dom's already on the thumbnail, so I've not even wasted time. Even though his match has not been announced yet, he will be on that show. And yeah, Dom is on that thumbnail. Eric says, Rusev failing was a surprise to me because he seemed like a typical seems like a typical Vince guy, big, believable, and could talk. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I mean, he was on the way up until the loss to John Cena, and then they sort of had the love quartet with Ziggler, Summer Rae, and Lana. I think that's where things kind of went a bit sour because Lana and Rusev were opposite ends of the storyline. TMZ broke the story of them being engaged, and I think it kind of fell a bit flat after that. But yeah, so maybe politics may have been a big reason for Rusev. We'll have to wait and see. But if Vegeta says that Rusev just didn't have it, there we go. That's Vegeta's opinion. Fair play. We're all entitled to those opinions. Thank you very much. Too Sweet Carl on the Mark Wrestling Podcast. Ian House has got Steve and Go. I like it, but I have shaved, so the beard is gone. But I do appreciate where you're going with it, really. Thank you. It's very kind of you to say. Ed Fry says the difference is when Solo won it, they weren't trying to get a new TV deal, and he wouldn't be the ratings draw. To be fair, that's a fantastic point from Ed there, and that is probably the reason why. Of course, storyline narrative, would you have liked to see Solo with it? I'm sure we all would have done. At that point, everyone in the bloodline was champions, but like you say, they're different time zone to now. WWE is in TV negotiation seasons. That also makes sense of why people just flip-flop from Raw to SmackDown, trying to give everyone the best names, the best everything possible going on. And like I say, if everyone gets got the best of both worlds, a chance of Roman could show up, a chance of who could show up, that TV deal is going to get bigger and better when WWE gets their way. So Ed, fantastic point. Can't disagree with you. But she says Pro Wrestling Unlimited had a video with said COVID causes changes. Interesting. Thank you for sourcing for us, Vegeta. I do appreciate that. And yeah, there we go. Temple says LA Knight is 40. If not now, when? I mean, my pick with it was within the next 8 months, maybe to a year. 41. I believe AJ was older than that when he came in. So I think AJ's pushing in 50 now. And it's still time for LA Knight. But I get where you're coming from, though, because he can't be the face of the company for 15, 20 years. But at the same time, I don't know if any superstar should be in the modern day, but that's just me. Remember Still beef with Theory because of Survivor Series 2021. Why is the beef for Survivor Series 2021 for Theory? I'd like to know, Eric, why you had beef there with. Is it because Theory took Rey Mysterio's place or Dominic's place? That might be potentially the reason. I must admit, I was a bit surprised at the time when the big changes were made there, especially as I didn't see Rey on the card. I was live in attendance for that show. Not to see Rey there was a bit of a disappointment, but certainly was not disappointed with the action that I got. Ghost Spider says, do you think Randy Orton will return at SummerSlam? It's a big question, that one, a big question. Until he does, I'm going to say no, but that opinion could change between now and SummerSlam. There's a lot of buzz saying it could be any time. It could be any time. And the reason I was saying no is because you said specifically at SummerSlam. Could return before, he could return after. There's a lot more shows that would go in favor of saying that than saying the one show. And I think if Randy is good to go by SummerSlam, I think you have him on SummerSlam, but that's just my opinion. Kayfabe reason was Melo forced to accept versus Solo, and Wes accepted the match had a week prior. But that's your storyline narrative getting out of it. Fair play. Thank you for sharing the knowledge there. We like that. So is Gravity the bad dad who forgot about Agent Neville? Bad dad joke? Hey, I'm all for them, Ed. Keep them coming in. I don't mind. This is how to my luchadors. Gravity's bandits, bro. He's amazing. He may be amazing. I look forward to seeing him this week, but I haven't seen anything of him. And to be fair, I may check out Ring of Honor before then, so I get an opportunity to see him more in action. But she says Dragon's been booked strong, except he doesn't win. It's true. He just doesn't win. That's the problem. I want to see him win matches, but the Heritage Cup was not something I really associated with Dragon Lee, but perhaps maybe the North American Championship would be something that I think would suit him a lot better. Ed says he gave AEW a chance this week. The World Champion dance off when we turn the TV off. Yeah, to be fair, I can understand why that would do that to some people. I mean, Adam Cole, to be fair, those dance moves were worse, to be honest, if we're going to be brutally fair. But what I would say is that Daniel Garcia, he's the man who does mainly those dance moves. And I mean, WWE does dance off, so I both companies have done it. But yeah, Daniel Garcia with the dance moves, man. I know people love it, and a lot of people like it, but I think it's turning more and more to Fandango every day. That's my take from it. And sadly, I don't want to see another Fandango. We've already had one. I don't need to. Garcia for me, this time a year ago, the guy was main eventing Dynamite, beating Daniel Bryan, or Bryan Danielson, I should say. The guy should be a much better program than what he's doing right now. I just not feeling that. I think the guy could have and should have broke away from the JS and should have gone to the BCC. That's just my little take on it. But yeah, people may all disagree with that. Richard says, if Raquel Rodriguez has to find a tag team partner to face something to be on Chelsea Green, Liv Morgan. That's her tag team partner, so it will be Liv Morgan. AEW, Harley gives us entertainment, bit of wrestling, so when they do, people tend to not like it, but honestly, I like it. It's not overdone, and when it's done, it's great. MJF and Cole examples. I mean, to be fair, they don't do it very often. That's very true. They don't. But obviously, they did do it this past week, and it seemed to really be working well with the crowd in audience. They seem to really like it. So it didn't seem to be over too keen on it. Temple, you were. It's not going to be for everybody. It's not going to be for everyone, but it's interesting to see that AEW, obviously, they are sports entertainment as well. As much as people want to say it's a pro wrestling company, it's a sports entertainment company. But, we have a dinosaur, a Luchasaurus on the show, so like we have sports entertainment. We have Orange Cassidy, they're entertainers, so we will have those as examples. Temple players, you're right, and Adam Cole and MJF was a great example of that this past week. Hangman would be on the MC. Not sure with MC there. Sorry, I'm not following that one. Richard says, Spider Fee held to lose again. I agree that will be the case for against Tiffany Stratton. Cora Jade for the next title shot. NXT Great Balls of Fire. Loving your style there, Richard. Definitely predictions there, but yeah, quite fun. Let's see. John Cena, Batista, Randy Orton equals Austin Theory, Braun Breaker, and Austin Theory, the two generations free WWE Musketeers. I think that got a further incarnation of it here. Yes, a version of it. It's meant to be Grayson Waller, Braun Breaker, and Austin Theory. Fair play to you. I dig those comparisons. Would Ricky Starks need a faction of his own? Starks, Hobbs, Scorpio Sky, trios managed by Mark Henry. I mean, obviously his team with Hobbs before. Hobbs could continue to be a heel if he is going to break away with QTV, which, if you want to know my opinion, I think he should. Scorpio Sky was keeping an eye on that main event, wasn't he, this past week? There's something certainly in that. So could be a trio that could happen. Mark Henry isn't doing much now, which is still calling it's the main event. I've stopped watching Rampage. I watched the Royal Rampage, but I didn't watch the rest of Rampage. I just can't devote more time to wrestling than I already do. Yeah, I mean, for me, I don't think Starks needs it, to answer the question. I don't think he needs it. I think now he's gone back to being this character. There is a lot more going for Ricky Starks, but if they want to go with it, they could do so. But for me, I see, just to bring the comment back up, I just see Ricky Starks at this point higher than the trios titles. I see him having a program with CM Punk, being on the top of the show, being the starter, the build to what your main event's going to be, being the main event after winning a main event against CM Punk last week. Starts when you start putting him in the conversation of, like, this is becoming like an upper mid-card guy to trying to get him to become a main event guy. But to have the backup, though, not against the idea of having the backup, certainly. And if he fails against CM Punk, then yes, of course, you can bring back down to go for the trios titles. It was because Fury took Dom's spot. Yes, the Survivor Series back in the day. Absolutely. I can see then why you would be furious with that, Eric. Yeah, can understand that entirely. Brock Lesnar versus Sheamus needs to happen before both of them retire. I agree. I'd like to see that match. We've not had it. Don't think we've had it. Yeah, I'd like to see it. In comparison, Dragon is definitely not getting the Mellow or Breaker push. Certainly not getting the Mellow or Breaker push. I think personally the mid card is where he's looking at right now, but we'll have to wait and see. And he meant MR, by the way, instead of MC earlier. I was going to say, is Hangman Adam Page going to be on the mic? I'd love to see him bust out some words, bust out some rhymes like Max Caster. It's never going to happen, is he? He's a cowboy after all. Go with the country, if anything. Ghost Spider says, fun fact, Sheamus has never went 1-on-1 with Rey Mysterio. Wow. Interesting. I wasn't aware of that. But they've been in a fatal four-way now, haven't they, this past week? Would like to see a one-on-one match with them two. And one-on-one match Rey Mysterio have had, which I was very disappointed we never got, was Triple H. The only time I can remember them properly interacting was the Royal Rumble back in 2006. Eric says, I think Jamie Hayter will be a massive star if she jumped ship. She's doing pretty well in AEW right now as well. She's certainly got all the potential in the world. Ghostbusters says, I want to see Ricardo Rodriguez dethrone Rhea Ripley at SummerSlam. Good to see it, because WWE are doing the job pretty well then. Ricardo being the face, Rhea being the heel. I'll reserve my prediction for now until we get close to predictions time, which I'll confirm now for everyone will be Thursday. It won't be a Tuesday, so it'll be Thursday, August the 3rd, will be the SummerSlam predictions video. In fact, keep an eye on the channel, because a number of streams are going to be coming out well ahead of time, so you can keep up to date with the schedule long before we'll be doing live streams. In fact, the live streams will start as early as Tuesday, which will be the watch long for the match everyone voted for, Bret Hart versus Owen Hart in the beautiful blue steel cage from SummerSlam 1994, the first of the series wrestling matches you should have seen, which will be a watch along series and live as well, so you can all get involved in the comments as well of that video. Temple Plains says, for those people saying Jay White is buried in AEW, he's been in the main event of Collision. He's been in the main event of a number of Collisions and Dynamite as well. I just feel that when he came in, I think that the idea was that we're waiting to build him for Collision. They want to have him on beforehand. Of course, Dynamite after Mania. Speaking of the Raw after Mania these days with acquisitions like that. Seriously though, I do feel that Jay White is doing good work in AEW. I agree with you. He's done good stuff. It's not just being in the main event of the shows. He's been great on the mic. He's obviously had an unbelievable match with FTR 2 weeks in a row. Obviously, every match he's had with Collision has been really, really good. In fact, actually, really enjoyed the matches with Punk, of course, with the 6-man tag, 8-man tag. So he's doing good stuff over there. And for those that do believe that he's not having a good run in AEW so far, might need to revisit that in another 3 to 6 months, because I think it's only going to get brighter from here. Vegeta says Jay isn't buried, but doesn't feel important. I disagree personally. I think it does feel. I feel it feels more important. To play in the middle of the two comments, Jay White, to a lot of people, seen as main eventer. He's been in main event shows. He's probably not the next in line for a championship. Many want to see that. He's not there now. He's been doing the tag team stuff with Juice Robinson at the minute, but he's still doing fantastic work. There's no arguments. Jay White is someone that they're going to build up to that position. And again, what I've said with LA Knight is the story, because if you watch Jay White in New Japan, which AW plays off the idea you watch every single wrestling show under the sun, they don't give you a lot of storytelling elsewhere. With this, it feels for me that they're actually going, well, maybe not everyone knows Jay White or knows everything. We're going to build him up. And I think that that's certainly what they are looking to do. And I think Jay White in 12 months from now will be, if not a contender, will be AEW World Champion. That's just my take on it at this moment, if I had to predict a long time in the future. Eric says, and the last few comments, by the way, that we'll be wrapping up the stream here today, but thank you everyone that's been getting involved. I really do appreciate it as always. Eric Douglas says, I feel like AEW dropped the ball with Malachi Black. Remember, when he first came, he destroyed Cody. Now he's been in the solo run for a long time. Obviously, he's Trios champion right now, and I'm really enjoying the character work with House of Black at the minute. Enjoying, again, Collision is becoming one of my favorite shows. I like the Andrade storyline. But what I would say is that Malachi first came in. I think I see where you're going with it. It's like this guy came in, destroyed Cody, felt he was going to be one of the top guys of the company. Again, what people will say with Jay White, for example, with Keith Lee coming in, everyone thought it'd be the top guys. And if they've found a position on the card that's for them that's somewhere different, maybe not what everyone wanted. But I would say that House of Black right now, they're doing really, really good stuff. I like the trio. I actually think Brody King has got the potential to be the breakout main eventer of the group at this moment, because the guy is literally a monster. And I'm loving his work. I mean, I joined him in Ring of Honor previously, but yeah, it's fair. I mean, it's your opinion, and I could never tell you you're wrong with that. For me, I'm enjoying the work of House of Black at the moment, but I can also see why you've put the comment you've put. I can see it. So, yeah. And Ghost Spider says that Triple H is burying the Brawling Brutes, Karrion Kross and Shinsuke Nakamura. I mean, the Brutes have got a position on TV, so is Kross and so is that. They're all on TV. I mean, they could be worse. They could be Hit Row. There could be people that are not on TV at all. I'm going to say all these people going down to NXT. It probably isn't long till Hit Row go to NXT at this point to rebuild that tag team division if you want. But the Brutes aren't winning so much. Neither is Kross and neither is Nakamura at the moment. And I did have higher hopes for Nakamura on Raw. But yeah, I mean, burying, I won't go as far as, but they're certainly maybe not being used to their full potential. Of all of them, I'd say actually Kross is probably the one I'd most agree on. But maybe it's because Kross maybe hasn't delivered to what they want him to do. Daz asked, what's my thoughts of the Blood and Guts main event? Thank you for asking that question. It's a big question from this week. Really enjoyed it. I thought the match was really good from top to bottom. I thought that particularly the first half of the match was really good. The thing for me is what I would say is, which is going to be the controversial take. So I kind of, from the moment Jon Moxley came into the match, I kind of had my, you know, when you can suspense disbelief and you kind of, you picture that what you're watching is real for the time you're watching. We know they're athletes, we know they're sports entertainers, we know they're well trained at what they do. We know all that sort of stuff. But when it comes to seeing a bed of nails brought into the ring and then someone being drop kicked at force into it, I couldn't take the match as seriously after that. Now, did I enjoy it? Yes, I did. So I'm not going to take away from the idea. I enjoyed the match. I thought the match was a lot of fun. I thought there was really a couple of creative spots. One of my favourite spots of the match was actually, particularly a dangerous spot, if we're being brutally honest, was the thumbtacks kind of raining into the cage. Obviously, it would be very dangerous with fans at the ringside, something goes wrong, but at the same time, it went well without a hitch. There was some stuff in there I thought was really, really good. I like when Kota Ibushi came in. If we're having go with the silliness of the bed of nails, it was a key integral part of the match, especially with Kenny Omega's hand there, with Moxley standing on it when Kota Ibushi wants to come into the match. I thought that was cool. I thought Pac's table spot was awesome. My only other minor disappointment was the way the match finished. I feel that Pac walking out was disappointing. I felt that Takeshita walking out was disappointing, although I think Takeshita's made more sense because Don Callis is not finished with Kenny Omega. The BCC are, Callis is not. So it made sense in a way. And I like the way that it finished. I like that Moxley surrendered for Wheeler Yuta, because at that point we've not seen, you'd see the disappointment. Moxley had to do that. The BCC have a really interesting story going forward now, because it's Mox and Claudio as a tag team. Is Wheeler going to be punished for this, or was he saved? What's this going to lead to? The storyline narrative and direction for Jon Moxley of where his head's at after this is going to be fascinating on AEW next week. So that's going to be really, really good. I'm really happy to see Kota Ibushi in there as well. I hope he will perform more in AEW. I don't know if we saw his best work in Blood and Guts, but I don't think Kota Ibushi suits that environment, if we're being honest. I think he's more of a guy that has top matches in the ring. We're used to seeing that with, the Cruiserweight Classic, New Japan, for example. So hopefully we're going to get that from Kota Ibushi in AEW moving forward. But yeah, all in all, this still was a top match for me. I really, really enjoyed it, and I will still give it, like, if I had to give it a star rating, if I'm going to be Big Dave for a minute, I'd give it like a 4-star for sure, because I think it was a fun match. I just thought it was fun and wacky, rather than sort of, having that believable factor, if you will. My suspense of disbelief went in this match, but I still thoroughly enjoyed it. Temple Plays says next week's collision is Andrade versus Buddy Matthews in a ladder match for the mask, and Buddy should bring out Dominic Mysterio's sister to get back at Dominic. He was not happy with Max Caster, was he, for another comment this week with Rhea Ripley and Dom? Yeah, to be fair, I'm looking forward to that ladder match. I think it's going to be awesome. They're a great singles match on the first week of Collision. I think that this ladder match will be awesome. Will the numbers game play a factor into Andrade not winning? And could that be the excuse for him to get backup, which I know, Temple, you have been saying quite heavily who the backup will be for Andrade when they do eventually come in. And of course, I don't think it'll be a big surprise with the idea of Rouge Dralistico, hopefully, for people that are watching. But certainly you've been calling that for a while. I think certainly will be the direction he's looking to be going in. Hope that it goes the way you want it to. Which is Bruce Stark getting buried, and I will agree with this comment. This comment here: if you're on TV, you're not buried. Like I say, you're getting somewhere, aren't you? If you're on TV, you're getting featured in some format. So yeah, I do personally kind of regret. Like I say, it could be worse. You could be like people that are not featured at all, but certainly not being used to the best of your ability. I think if that's what was being said before from Ghost Spider, that I could agree with all three names that were mentioned there. We've got here further on. Temple Plays here. Randy's best work was when he joined the White family. I still feel he should have had Brody Lee involved in the WrestleMania match and won. I believe Brody picked up an injury around that period. I don't think he was going to be in the match either way, but he picked up an injury, didn't he? Because I agree with you. I think the triple threat was the right way to go, because at that point, Brody, Luke Harper at that point was so over in WWE. At that point, it would have been great to have seen. It's a shame that it didn't work out that way. But I do agree there was some really good work at the time with Randy, and of course part of the White family there. Is this his best work? I would go with, I enjoyed Evolution. I did enjoy Rated RKO. I enjoyed Legacy. For a period, I enjoyed RK Bro, but I might have enjoyed the Whites more. It's hard. Randy's done some good stuff in his career. It's hard to pick one, so I'll leave that for another day, I think. Ghost Funder says, last minute comment from him. I think next year, New Hurt Business and Judgment Day, they'll be the top factions by next year. Certainly could even be the top factions by this year. Bloodline is crumbling each and every week, and Solo leaves. The Bloodline truly is no more. Temple says Chelsea is going to get fired if Vince is the clip of Cardona at that DDT show with Chelsea Green's Women's Tag Team title. I haven't seen that. If that is going viral, I'll be looking that up. That certainly would not probably do her many favours. But then maybe WWE may have a say in it. I can't imagine they would not actually have known about it before. Cardona's been in WWE for many, many years. He would know how things work. If he would have done that like that, they would be very naive on his side, and certainly, like you say, not of the best interests of Chelsea Green. I would like to hope that approval had been given beforehand. But yeah, I'm going to go and search that out because I've not seen that. We've seen Eric here says, I would love Julia to be a breakout star of the House of Black. She's certainly on her way. She's on a very good winning streak at the moment in AEW. The win-loss record, I know it's not as muttering as much as it used to, but certainly would be quite fun to see if she could be. She's certainly doing some good stuff there in AEW right now. Ghost Wonder says, imagine Heel Street Profits versus the Usos at WrestleMania 40. Would be amazing. They've had amazing matches with the Dynamic the other way around. It would be fascinating to see it that way also. And you know the deal with the last comment coming in here. And thank you for joining the stream, because you are the last one in here. What is WWE doing with LA Knight? He's getting crazy pops, one of the top merch sellers. If he's not part of SummerSlam, that would be a shame. It would be a shame, you know. To be fair, I'm not going to go into the same details what I was saying. You probably need to go to probably about 3 or 4 minutes into the stream to get the real bulk, and then there was a couple of other areas of the stream where there was more bulk again with LA Knight with really good, huge detail. But what I would say is I agree with you. He's got everything going in the right direction to get that push. If WWE have long-term storytelling in place, they may have already pre-planned SummerSlam, and that might be what's keeping him off the card. It would be a shame for him not to be there, and it feels like he's not going to be there at this point. Maybe he'll do something on the kickoff show, maybe, or something like that. Again, a shame if it's not on the main show, but certainly if he could be a part of SummerSlam in any fashion, that would be great. He only needs to come on the mic for 30 seconds, and he'd still get a massive pop and a big reminder of why he should be being pushed going forward. There you go, something new that people have not anyone seen on this stream here today. But when it comes to it, I do think he will get the push. I think it's coming after SummerSlam as it's been put forward by certain people. Obviously, Better Wrestling Experience is the one getting the credit across Twitter. Those that follow Tom Colley on his channel for spoiler warning would have known this information a good couple of weeks ago that LA Knight, the push isn't coming before SummerSlam. Plans are in place outside and after SummerSlam. So I'm hoping the United States Championship to kick things off. Let's see where it's going to go. But for me personally, I'm excited for the future of LA Knight. And like we say, should push indeed. And hopefully everyone will push the like button. If you've enjoyed the video, then make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're new to it as well, if you're watching for the first time. If you're watching on delay, I appreciate you all for checking in and tuning in and watching the whole video. Hope you've enjoyed it. Drop some comments after this video has gone off as well. It's basically what helps the channel grow. And like I said, with all of you, without your comments, without all your kind wishes and stuff like that, this wouldn't be anything. First I would be here on my own on a live Q&A. It wouldn't go very well, would it? Let's be honest. I'd be here for a cup of coffee and I'd be off. But so I appreciate everyone that gets involved on these videos. As always, it really, really does help a long way. But if you can like the video, I really appreciate it. If you can leave a comment after we've gone off air, that would be amazing as well. Of course, I'll be interacting with you in that section if you want to ask further questions. You want to talk more about LA Knight. We've not touched so much on Roman Reigns and Jey Uso with the tribal combat, but certainly I've given my opinion on it in the video. Go and rewind if you haven't seen it already. But we've got here Vegeta with a final comment in. It says, Bald Hill Orton was best. And to be fair, he was an absolute menace at that point. I think, to be fair, if I had to pick one, actually, maybe that 2009 period, the build with Orton and Triple H going into WrestleMania 25, Orton at his peak at that moment, I think, certainly. So, yeah, maybe the legacy days for me might just take it for Randy, but certainly the White Family times were really good as well. But that's all for me. Thank you for watching as always. If you, like I said, enjoyed it, like, share, and subscribe. You will next see me on this channel on Tuesday, is where you'll see me live as well for the Bret Hart Owen Hart at SummerSlam 1994 watch along. Just the one match. We'll tell you where to watch it, when to click and watch the match with us on the network as well, or Peacock, depending on where you are. And you can get involved in the comments. We'll be talking about the match. We'll be talking through, commentating through it, probably talking about some of your questions as well for it also. So make sure to get involved. But thanks for watching. Look after yourselves and each other. And I'll see you next time. Take care.